Mr. Renfro, we're going to do some review of the coordinate plane and talk about a few new things today, like how to count units in between points, and also how to tell if points are on the same vertical or horizontal line. But let's go ahead and review real quick. Remember, we talked about there being two number lines on a coordinate plane. First being the one that goes side to side or horizontal, and that's the x-axis. And then, of course, we had the one that went up and down, which is the y-axis. Okay. We also talked yesterday about quadrants. Quadrants, there are 4 quadrants on a coordinate plane. Starting at 1 o'clock, there's quadrant 1. So write on one like that. Quadrant 2, Roman numeral 2. Quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Remember, quadrants go counterclockwise from 1. Counterclockwise from 1. So in the first quadrant, because we go right on x, x is positive. And because we go up on y, y is also positive. So this quadrant, all coordinates in this quadrant will be positive, positive. Okay, let's go to quadrant 2. In quadrant 2, we go left on x, so x has to be negative because we went left. And we go up for y, so y has to be positive. Okay, so every number in this quadrant will be a negative positive. Example, negative 5, 4. First number, x, is negative. Second number, y, is positive. So that has to be in this quadrant. This point would have to be in this quadrant. Okay. How about quadrant 3? Quadrant 3, we go left from the origin. Okay, so x has to be negative. X has to be negative. And then we go down for y, so y has to be negative. So this quadrant, everything is negative, negative. Every number every point that we have in this quadrant will be negative, negative. An example will be negative 5, negative 3. Both those in that order pair are both negative, so they would have to be in quadrant 3. Okay, finally, quadrant 4, we go from the origin, we go right for x, which means x would have to be positive. And then we go down for y, and y would have to be negative. So every number in this quadrant, x would have to be positive, and y would have to be negative. So that's a little bit of a review for that. All right, erase this. Now, let's talk about units. Units are a distance between points. Okay, so let's say we have point B here, and we have point C here. How many units are there between points B and C? Well, we start at point B here, and we count the corners until we get to C. So don't count B itself. You start counting when you move. So 1, 2, 3. So the distance between points B and C is 3 units. Okay, 3 units. Let's try another one. We've got point E here and point G here. Okay, how many units is it in between points E and point G? So we start at point E, and then we don't count exactly where we're at. Don't count till we move. So right now I'm at point E, so I start counting when I move. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the distance between point E and point G is 5 units. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, let's put this point C, point F. Okay, so how many units is it from point C to point F? Point C to point F. Well, from point C, we start at C, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 units. Okay. Now sometimes it can only give us 1 point, and it says how many units is it from the point to the axis. So I'll show you an example of that. So let's say we have a point here, point, we'll call it B. All right, how far is it from point B to the y-axis? How far is it from point B to the y-axis? The y-axis, excuse me. Well, the y-axis is right here. So just pretend there's a point there. So how far is it from B to that line? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 units. Okay. Now I could ask that question also, how far is it from B to the x-axis? How far is it from B to the x-axis? Well, let's count from B to the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 units. Okay. All right. So hopefully you're understanding how to count units. So what does it mean to be on the same horizontal line? All right. I'm going to put 2 points on the same horizontal line. I've got point B and point C. They're on the same horizontal line. Okay, now I know they're on the same horizontal line because they're on line 7 here, on the y-axis. Okay, they're on line 7 of the y-axis. Now, if I plot these points, how far is it from, or what is the ordered pair for point B? What is the ordered pair? Well, I start at the origin, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so x is -5 because I went left on the x-axis. It's -5. And then y will be positive because I'm going up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So y is 7. So x is -5 and y is 7. All right, what's the other ordered pair? Again, start at the origin. All right, we go over till we get under the point. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's going to be a positive 3 since I went right on the x-axis. And then it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 will be my y coordinate. So my x coordinate is 3, my y coordinate is 7. So that's located at 3, 7. Now what do you notice about when they're on the same horizontal line? If 2 points are on the same horizontal line, then y will be the same number. Okay? If 2 points are on the same horizontal line, then y will be the same number. Now, how many units is it in between? Let's review that. Between B and C. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 units are in between points B and C. Okay? So what about a vertical? What about 2 points on the same vertical line? Okay, well let's put another point on the same vertical line. We'll call this point B. Okay, so let's put point, we already know the coordinates for point B, right? The coordinates for point B are -5, 7. I just did that. All right, well let's do them for D. What is the coordinates for D? Well, we go left, start at the origin, go left on the x-axis to get to D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So x is -5. Well, what is y? Well, since we reached our point here, we don't have to go up and we don't have to go down. Since we don't have to go up or down, and we're at the point we need to be at, it's 0. Okay, which means we're on an axis. Anytime that 0 is your coordinate, okay, X or Y, you're on an axis. Okay, so does everybody notice that point D and point B are on the same vertical line? Okay, they're on -5. Does everybody see that? Now, what do you notice about that? You notice that when 2 points are on the same vertical line, then X is the same. Okay, X will be the same when 2 points are on the same vertical line, up and down. And remember, 2 points for horizontal, remember B and C are horizontal on the same vertical line. Theirs are the same. Okay, so if 2 points are on the same horizontal line, Y is the same. If 2 points are on the same vertical line, X is the same. Okay, so hopefully you've understood that. All right, so let's go ahead and do this page here real quick. Tell what point is located by each ordered pair in the graph above. So first point is X is +2 and Y is 0. Okay, X is +2 and Y is 0. Always start at the origin. So if we go X +2, we have to go left or right? We have to go right. 1, 2. Okay, and then Y is 0. So if Y is 0, I don't move up or down. I'm at my point. So what letter is at that point? A. Okay, let's try the next one, number 2. All right. So again, we start at the origin, and our first point, X, is -3, and Y is +2. So -3. If I start at the origin and go -3 for X, do I go right or left? I go left. 1, 2, 3. There's -3. So I stop there, and then I have to do my Y coordinate. My Y coordinate is +2. So on the Y axis, would I go up for +2 or down for +2? I would go up. So 1, 2. What point am I at when I finish? Point. Okay. Good. All right. Let's try the next one. All right. We've got -3 for X and -2 for Y. So if I start at the origin and I go -3 for X, I have to go left because left is negative. So 1, 2, 3, stop. And then -2 for Y. Is that up or down for Y? Well, it's down. 1, 2. So what point do I end up at? I end up at point M. All right? Let's try the last one here. So +1, -1. So if I go +1 for X and -1 for Y, where am I going to end up? Well, +1 for X is right. -1 for Y is down. So I end up at point Y. So hopefully this is getting easier for you. All right. Now, first question up here asks, what ordered pair represents point C? Well, here's point C. How do I get to point C? Am I start at the origin? And do I go right or left on the x-axis? Here's the x-axis. Do I go right or left on it? Well, I have to go left. And I end up here. Well, where did I end up? I ended up at -1. So the first number will be X, will be -1. Now, stopped here. I'll make the dot black so it's a little more easy to see. I stopped here for -1, but I'm still not at point C. How do I get to point C? Do I go up or down? Well, I have to go up, which is +Y. Well, how many is that? Well, it's 1. So Y has to be positive. So X is -1, Y is positive. Now, what ordered pair is where Z is located? Well, here's Z. Okay. How do I get to Z? Well, I start at the origin. And I have to go X. Well, on X, do I have to go right on X to get to point Z or left on X to get to point Z? Well, I have to go right. If I go right on X, how many do I have to go till I'm over that point? 1, 2, 3. So +3. So X will be positive 3. And then I have to go up, which is positive y, or down, which is negative y, to get to z. I have to go down, which is negative y. So I go down, -1, -2. So that's my ordered pair for point Z. Now, what quadrant is point K in? What quadrant is point K in? Well, point K is right here. Okay, here's point K. Remember, quadrant 1, remember, is at 1 o'clock. So we go counterclockwise. Counterclockwise, this has to be quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So where is point K? Well, it's in quadrant 2. We also know it's in quadrant 2 because point K is -3, +2. Remember, all points in quadrant 2, the x is negative because you went left on the x-axis, and y is positive because you went up to get to that point. So all points are always negative or positive in quadrant 2. Right? Where is point y? What quadrant is point y in? Okay. What quadrant is point y? Well, point y is located here. Right? Remember, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's in quadrant 4. Remember, you have to go counterclockwise for your quadrants. All right. So this will be the last few problems we do. How many units is it from point B to point N? Well, here's point B, and here's point N. Remember, you start counting at B. You don't move. You don't count until you move. So 1, 2. So that would be 2 units. Okay. How many units is it from point B to point L? Here's point B, and here's point L. How many units is it from B to L? Well, you start at B. You don't count B till you move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 units. Okay. How many units is it from point E to point N? Okay. How many units is it from point E to point N? Again, you start at point E, and you count until you get to point N. Count corners when you move. So 1, 2, 3. 3 units. Excuse me. Frog in my throat. All right. Now, what 2 points are on the same vertical line? Remember, vertical is up and down. Vertical is up and down. Well, point L and point N are not on the same vertical line. They would be on +2 for the x-axis if they were both on the same vertical line. So point E and point N are on the same vertical line because they're at 1 on the x-axis. They're at 1 on the x-axis. Okay, and remember what I said about that. X will be the same when 2 points are on the same vertical line. X will be the same. So point N is at +1, -1, and point E is at +1, +2. And remember, if they're on the same vertical line, which they are, they're on the same vertical line, then X is the same. Okay, X is the same when they're on the same vertical line. Right? What about, so the answer to this is what 2 points is on the same horizontal, or on the same vertical line as E and N. Okay, horizontal goes side to side, so that's what number 4 is saying. So we got B and we got L on the same horizontal line. We also have B and N. Okay, but let's do B and L. B and L are on the same horizontal line. So how many units is it in between these points? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We did that a minute ago. It's 5 units. Now, how do we know they're on the same horizontal line? Because they're on 3 on the y-axis. They're on 3 on the y-axis. and 3 will be the coordinate for y, for both of them. So what is the coordinates for b? So if we go from the origin, it will be -3 for x and +3 for y. So that's point B. Point L is +2 for x and +3 for y. Remember what I said, if they're on the same horizontal line, which they are, they're on the same horizontal line, then y will always be the same. Okay? So point B and point L are on the same horizontal line. So hopefully this has been helpful and you understand how to count units and how to tell if 2 points are on the same vertical or horizontal lines.